So what I would like to do tonight is share with you a little bit about our work and the process that go about doing the work, but more importantly, it's the culture and the people that we have that support that. Given the fact that I did come from this program years ago, and I thought it would be fun if I just mapped out where I have been briefly, just so that I remember to share with the school too. So graduated in 98, 89, and it is true that I bounced around quite a bit because I was very interested in just learning different things and able to went to New Haven after 2 years at New York. Went to LMN then, and then I have always thought, as Jeff mentioned, I came from Vietnam of Chinese descent, and I really wanted it to go back to China, to Asia at least. And so I actually got licensed in 95 and then told LMN that I would go to Hong Kong. I got a round trip ticket and $200 and I just went. And the economy was great back then, so I ended up staying there for 5 years and then came back to LMN with no intention of ever leaving them, but things happened, so I did go to ZGF for 7 years there, and then now I got home to LMN again. Over the years, again, it's very fortunate of the project types that I get to do, and one thing I will love to do that I never have a chance to work on is a fire station, so I still want a fire station. But this pretty much some of the work that I have done over the years, which I think is kind of been a lot of fun, and I certainly have been very fortunate, I would say. Seattle, Washington, that's where we located. We're about 160 people with 9 partners, and because we are one office environment, so we tend to collaborate a lot. It's in our blood. When we work outside of the state, we collaborate with people. And so that becomes something that we really embrace. And it's not only internally, but externally, that's what we do. We like to have a lot of fun. We don't dress like this every day, but we do try. This is so happened to be Freaky Friday in front of our plaza. We make a lot of models. And when I say make models, just like the way you do up in studio that I still see today, which is great, it studies model and things that we really believe that that's how you really conceive space correctly. And then we do a lot of design review within the office for projects, especially the bigger projects, and the intention is twofold. One is obviously to solicit ideas across the office to better the design, but more importantly, is allow the younger staff on the project to learn how to present better over time. And then, of course, we make more models. With that, I want to show a brief video that I think would give you a good sense of who we are. Okay, so I missed one slide, sorry. With all of that, we formulated back in 2009 this design and research group that we call the Tech Studio. Basically, we do simulation, fabrication, and obviously visualization and parametric modeling. Here we go.
The firm is very interested in how we can play a part in the evolution of cities in the 21st century. As cities get increasingly dense, the public realm becomes very important. Those issues are not simple. They involve broad thinking with a number of different perspectives.
A city at any moment in its life is not an aggregation of objects so much as a set of systems, complex cultural, economic, and social systems. Element embraces that longer view and larger responsibility.
Some of our most interesting work has been where we've engaged these non-traditional collaborators like environmental psychologists or marine biologists.
And you can see it in the way that building operates. There's kind of a real blurring of the lines between building, the park, public interaction.
Some of the most important buildings that we have been designed by LMN. These are places that we go that contribute so much to just the heart of our city.
Not only are they creative, sort of pushing the client forward, thinking about what might work, but they really work very, very well with so many divergent voices.
And helped us all understand how we could actually achieve this incredibly complex puzzle.
Organizing the team It's actually a design assignment unto itself.
The firm as a whole is always looking to challenge itself and the industry in how they approach the design process.
The Advent project was an interesting one. We pushed the level of technology and the level of collaboration by allowing the acoustical engineer and the theatrical consultant and the lighting consultant to all directly have inputs into how our designs were being generated.
One of the things that's really interesting about this practice is the use of digital strategies to re-establish a relationship between thinking and making, and how architects deliver value in that intersection is the big question of the 21st century.
The way that we're trying to set the shop up is basically that it's a garage. People can come down and try to manifest what they see on their school right now in real time in a physical world.
There's just such a huge variety happening in the office at any one time that you walk around and it's really, it gets you excited. And clients love it when they come in here and see the wide range of discovery we are making.
When I arrived here, there was a really great culture of self-expression. Like, I'm sitting next to a partner, and I'm an intern, you know, like there's no barriers between anybody. I just see our project is a little city.
I think it's beer every Thursday for me.
That's awesome, and all the free food.
And the great thing about the profession is we're always learning and we're never done.
Yes, we do own a couple of drones. So, obviously, one of the first projects that people were aware of us, obviously, is the Vancouver Convention Center West. And this is, again, with collaborators beyond just the architects, the landscape architects, structural engineer, but it's a list of some 30-something international consultants that we actually have to collaborate with, including a marine biologist, and I will explain a little bit more in a bit. This is a pretty interesting, complex program of not only just the convention center, but the siting of it and what we're able to, like, trying to stitch together the missing piece that the city left there. And so it's have a lot more to do with beyond the functional program of a convention center, but how to engage the urban side of the city and also the natural surrounding, and also with all the green spaces that eventually we provided as part of that, and stitching together pedestrian linkage and bicycle linkage and the views and such. And last but not least, for all the bugs that showed up on the roof there. In the interior space, obviously, is very nice and such, but what's intrigued us more about this building was actually all the exterior spaces that we were able to create. Some of these images here is actually from the Olympics back in 2010. This is the Winter Olympic. And also how the local used the space that we didn't even imagine how it would be done. But the point is, by creating them, it will happen. This was set up for a banquet, obviously, for the convention center. But on the one hand, the juxtaposition that you have there with the urban context and the tower, and then you turning around and your view is literally like stunning. And so that was a really great site that we were able to work on. The non-convention center aspects of it, which is just as important, is lined with retail, and the local people get to use it and enjoy it every day without even be aware of what's going on in the convention center. Beside the human habitat, obviously, is the marine habitat that is also intriguing to us. It is built right at the edge of the water, so we did engage the marine biologist. Actually, she came out from UBC program to understand about the concrete plank that we were to build, the precast plank, and how to various aggregates and things to attract the most marine life. At the end, we nicknamed it the fish condos down there. And then on the roof, obviously, is the largest living roof that was ever made at the time outside of the Ford assembly line. And since then, as part of that, is part of the water collection and conservation that come down from the roof. And again, it's in line with all the building system and the sustainability strategy that were employed. It did end up getting to be the first convention center to achieve LEED Platinum, even though I like to joke about it, even though that's the Canadian version, but it's still a very good one. Now it's have about 4 colonies of some 250,000 of bees that live on the roof. again, this image I also very much enjoy seeing. It's like it could be anything. It didn't have to be a convention center. So it's achieved the other purpose of it is to stitch together what's missing there as part of the urban life. This next project is also quite interesting for us to do is the Tobin Center down in San Antonio. It's an existing historical municipal auditorium, and we were awarded to do the project where we gutted out the inside, renovated the lobby, and then instead of inserting one hall there by tilting it, we were able to find space for a smaller hall that insert in there. And in addition, similar to Vancouver, was trying to find the opportunity to create additional outdoor spaces. And in this case, it's the Riverwalk event plaza that lead down to the Riverwalk there. San Antonio is called the city of festivals. They have a lot of really beautiful color and textures and such that we drawn our inspiration from. And from that, created some of this pattern that actually happened on the building design itself. Wrapping the hall is this painted aluminum panel. Some of them are perforated and that they are backlit with LED. And this is what it looked like. It was opened about 2 years ago. And people find many different ways to use the exterior spaces. I really like the yoga on the plaza one. The same theme of in-between spaces. This is inside at the lobby. The curved wall you see there is the belly wall, which is the back wall of the hall itself. And again, it's one of those opportunities that we see that we can actually turn it into something. So the diagram up top there show that if we do a normal pattern and trying to curve it along a complex curve and shifting it, you can create something quite interesting from that. And as we work through that, we realize that if we take out a couple of those pieces, it would give us portals like that, which we typically wouldn't think of doing, but because of the parametric modeling and things that we were able to generate things that we normally don't conceive, that I thought is quite interesting. It's also the first hall in the US that have a flexible floor, the gala system that would allow them to convert it from anything from a cabaret to symphony to a rock concert and even banquet. On the fascia of the balconies you see there, it's actually is perforated wood panel with LED backlit. So it allows, again, the event to change the color or the pattern as one wish. And this is, I always like this. If he likes it, then we likes it. So back to closer to home now, this is University of Washington Business School. We were fortunate were able to land this commission. It is at the edge of the Olmsted Plan, or actually Danny Yard, and it evolved a bit, but it's one of the bigger green spaces that on campus. And this thing is literally like at the edge of it. Zooming in, and what we also intrigued by the fact that it's the pattern, the circulation pattern, not vehicular, pedestrian pattern that cut through the site, and we always imagine that that is something to respect and how to use it in beyond the normal spaces and program requirement inside. Since then, we finished phase 1, which is called Packard Hall, and phase 2, which is Dempsey Hall, have been completed. Currently, we're working on phase 3, the Mackenzie Hall down there. So we finished that, we'll be able to complete this corner of Denny Yard. Programmatically, business school is a lot of classroom, various style of teaching. This one is about 80% horseshoe sort of interactive classroom. You obviously have bigger audience tier classroom and flexible space, event space that also set up for gathering. But what's intrigued us again the most is the in-between spaces. This is the space that connecting all the classrooms and the circulation pattern, and can we make something more out of it? This is one of the main corridor with eddies that's set so often to allow for informal interaction and chance meeting. One of the bigger lounge, and in this case it's the cafeteria actually, and a lot of daylight, obviously, and then the view is out to the Danny Yard that we're trying to capture. Since then, this was great because it also allowed us for the first time to go back to the building twice to actually survey the students and understand how they have used the space. And you know, not surprisingly, I guess, it's like the interaction nowadays beyond just professor and student is actually peer-to-peer, so it's quite important. And also the diagram, the chart down there also point out that where students like to hang out beside the classroom, and obviously a lot of informal spaces are quite important. And again, the peers and peers-to-peers and non-peers, but what we got out from this is like, because this is mostly MBA student by now, and it's like, it's the career bit, it's like the interaction with non-academia, the interaction of potential employer that come to the space has become extremely important. With that, also the notion of bonding within one group versus bridging from one group to another group, creating spaces that allow for all of that to happen is quite important. Since then, we have used the knowledge we gained, and we have designed it and completed the business school at UC Irvine, Utah State University, which is John Huntsman School, and currently we're working on 2 business schools, one in Clemson and the other one in Michigan State. As part of our practice in recent years, obviously, transportation become extremely important. The traffic in Seattle is, yes, it's a little bit worse than here. And so, you know, about 10, 12 years ago, the light rail system started in Seattle. And the first length of it was going from the airport to downtown. And subsequently, this is the station that we worked on and completed recently, is go from downtown up to the University of Washington. What you see there is just the head house. And then it's a very interesting and complex sort of problem that we're trying to solve. Not only what it looked like and can you find it, and its relationship with trying to cross the busy street with bike lane and pedestrian way back to the Veneer Vista, which is the green there that overlook Mount Rainier down this way. And it's right next to the UW Husky Stadium, which I'm not going to go there about Pac-12 football tonight. So. Again, not unlike Vancouver, it's a lot of different systems that come together, and how to capitalize and solve that has always been interesting to us. This is a sectional perspective that I think is quite telling. So you see the train that coming from lower left, and because of Lake Washington that is going under, so by the time it gets to the station platform level, it's 100 feet down from where grade is at. And so one of the main challenges here is obviously is about how to create that experience of going down underground 100 feet or vice versa and turn it into something positive. So from the platform level, and then as you circulate up, as part of the life safety requirement, there's this smoke enclosure that we have to create. So we turn that into an opportunity, and working with an artist to create this almost like chapel-like sort of quality. And the interpretation here is the layer of the rock and the settlement on this site. And he created different patterns under each one of those layers, and it's kind of draw you up. And obviously, when you get close to the exterior, the daylight is the thing that draws you out. So again, this was a really fun project for us. This one is in Cleveland Convention Center. Somewhat different than Vancouver, but again, it's quite fascinating. It's come from a 1908 plan that was created with this central green space for the city, and we're trying to respect that. And programmatically, it's an exhibit space with ballroom space, and all of them we're trying to put them underground, and if there's a way that we can insert something and lift up certain aspects of it. And in this program, it actually comes with an office building to the side also. So sectionally, similar to some of the things that we learned from Vancouver, we lifted up the park to form an entrance to the exhibition space below. It was a bit of a controversial, it's a little bit of a controversy for some of the folks because they were wondering if we were blocking views from inland. And so we went through a lot of study and show various things, including this is the existing view corridors where it is true that the view is wider, farther out, but it's truncated as you at the park because of the original planned buildings that if they were to build it. And in our case, yes, we did lift it, but the view is a lot better. And also we provided two side view that it was never intended to be there. And this is one of them. And at the point that where we lifted up would be the entrance to the exhibit space or convention center. So this is the exhibit space looking back up at the lobby and to the outside. You know, with the great thing that we were doing in Vancouver, what we did not achieve in Vancouver was the exhibit space itself is actually underground. So this is the first time we were able to lift this and create it and bring in daylight into exhibit space. Again, this also helps when you have clients that begin to realize that that is something people want, because for the longest time, exhibit spaces tend to be just black box that people like to control the lighting environment. And this is the ballroom. And as part of that, like I mentioned earlier, is the office building. Originally, it was conceived as a very normal, simple office building with the big atrium there, but it would have been just simple precast with ribbon windows on it. Halfway through the project, the client think that we need to make it more dynamic to relate to the surrounding. So we ran through a lot of daylighting analysis and also trying to create patterns that do that and also create something interesting on the facade. With that, this was back in the late 2000s, so Revit was not as advanced as now. So from the Grasshopper is what we used to create it, and then we have to write our own plugin to translate that into the Revit model. And with that, it would allow us like constant, instant update. If we change something, the contractor can get that information right away. With that, and then we thought, okay, let's go and play with the precast panel and see what we can do. A lot of historical buildings there have really fine horizontal rustication on it, and so we were trying to see if we can do that, and we were testing different look of it. And this was the one that we thought had a lot of potential, and with that, we're actually trying to make it. This is a half-inch scale model that we created it, and through trial and error, what we're trying to determine is how thick do I need to do, or the depth of the total dimension that need to have to create the light and shadow that we desire. And it turns out 1.5 inches plenty more than enough. We did look at 3 inches, but it's getting a little bit too much, and also obviously cost is always a factor. So with that, we actually translate that and gave it to the precaster, and they used it to build. I hate this slide, but I have put it in here. It was amazing to see hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people showed up in this park. And then again, this is one of the wonderful projects that showed up once in a while. University of Iowa, this is back in 2008 when the existing school was flooded out. And with the FEMA money, we were fortunate to be selected. And the site was moved into downtown instead of at the edge of the river. Again, this is the great program, always fun to do this sort of work. But what we were looking for was also the in-between spaces and also the client's desire to bring daylights into every hall and the big hall, the recital hall, and also all the practice and rehearsal spaces. And from that, we were using daylight not only to the room, but we're also using it as a mean of intuitively how one circulate through the space and inform us how to stack all the programs. The exterior is mainly made up of white terracotta. I'm not going to go through the detail, but there's some twisting of them to become shading devices right next to the windows up on the office level. Again, just quick understanding of the spaces and the in-between spaces. This is opened about 2 months ago. Yes, the punch list was still there, still very long that we still have to deal with. So the idea is then again, it's about light that drawn you in. And if you also notice, everything tends to be very light and white, unless we really want to punch something up. And this is on top of that stair there. And this facade is quite telling with that bulge out element there, the color, as you can see, there's like on the lobby side, and then it turned a little bit red on the other side. That's actually the recital hall side of it. So there's a demising wall in between there. And this is what we're imagining on the inside when we worked on it, is to proportionally shape the hall so that it would push out on the glass side. And then to compensate for it, we have to work through with the acoustician to make sure the other side compensate for it. And this is what it looked like. I think he might be just practicing because no one watching him. And again, this is one of the rehearsal hall, trying to keep the volume as big as needed and the light. So what we create there is a series of cells that drop down to deal with the acoustics. And this one's a yellow one, and we have a blue one too. This is the facade of the main hall itself by cutting through vertical slot to bring lights in, and also making it subtle enough that it doesn't interfere with the performance. And in the interior, that's what we were perceiving. But one of the things that really intriguing about this hall is the ceiling itself. We know that we need to have the reflective seals over the stage side, but also we were wondering if we can expand this thing and create a ceiling outlet to make sure that it captures the house light, the stage light, sprinkler heads, and all of it. So with this is the one that we actually worked through with the acoustician. Sound is a wave, so we can approximate like by ray tracing it. And so some of the very smart person, not me, they wrote the script, and then we figured out how to manipulate this, and it could be done live with the acoustician in terms of how he or she want to shape that. So with that, we thought we should build it. And one of the material that quite commonly used out there is aluminum composite panel that literally used for gas station. So we bought a lot of that, and we kind of make it ourselves, just to prove that we can do it. So we built third scale, and we actually hang it up in our office, and also trying to test out all the kink. And from that, we mapped it, and it became our documentation to go out as a low bid job, actually. And this is what it looked like a few months ago. This is a pedestrian bridge, and we always like to do pedestrian bridges. I think they're fun. This is Northgate Station, which would be one more station north of the UW station that I showed you earlier. And in this case, we get to design this bridge, and it needs to cross International 5, and then to this side of the community, which always been bisected by the highway that run through there. And instead of the normal bridge, we thought, can we make something compelling that also within the budget that they imagining? This is WashDOT. So this is one of the things that we actually brought to the meeting to work through with the city, the WashDOT and neighborhood group, is how to figure out the alignment and where should it be. and that all need to satisfy the ADA slope requirement, and also the bike lane curve radius that have to come into play. So this was a very helpful tool for us, and then eventually this is where we landed in terms of the route. And from that, we also figured out that the middle span could be done out with steel tube trusses. And so we simulated, and then we figured out that there are probably 6 different type of cast notes that we need to have, because that's where the money become expensive, is when you have to make the molds for them. From that, we not only just virtualize it, we actually built mock-up, in this case just in-house 3D printing. And then we constructed this sectional model, which became an extremely useful tool for office, for public outreach and meetings with the various agencies. Again, with this open sort of bridges, we hope that it would allow people more engaged with the environment on the exterior. The city of Seattle obviously have grown a lot, and we're part of it, and it's great that we have the fortune of working on many projects since then. And this one was the most recent convention center that now we're working on. The yellow box there with 2 smaller yellow boxes, the new site for the expansions project. In zooming in, sorry, I'm changing color on you here. But so that's the convention center with the co-development site. But over time, we have the fortune of working on all these little boxes that showed up there. Some of them are under construction, some of them is constructed, and some of them is still in design. But it's always great to be able to influence quite an area of a city. So this is a stacking diagram of the current convention center. It would be the tallest in the sense of number of stories. It's going to be 11 stories. And sectionally here, at the bottom you have the exhibit hall, and in this case, because the street is quite vary in height, so we're able to bring some daylight into it, not unlike Cleveland, but we're also able to test the notion of cutting holes through the building to create atria for it. And then on the left of the slide, where the truck loading is, on top of that is like stitching the 2 towers through where the core should go for both the residential tower at 300 foot tall and an office building at 240 feet. It's a lot of fun. And this is currently in design development. Some of the breaking down of scale here was to have more to do relating to some of the older building. Obviously, the really, really beloved Paramount Theater is just across the street. And being in such an urban environment, and what we learned from Vancouver is like, so we trying to create as much as retail spaces at all the edges, with the exception of where the entrance to the convention center is. And actually, in some instances, the market is actually, it's a mixing zone between the convention center goer and the local people. And of course, on the other side of it, as I mentioned earlier, sitting on top of the loading area is the office building and the residential tower. So last but not least, as the city grows, lands become less available, and it seemed to be more the opportunity for someone to come in and decided that it makes sense to build taller. This is for in Columbia. It's in a neighborhood that is no residents at all, mostly office spaces and things. So our client decided that it would make sense now that to put about 1,000 units of residents here, to make it more like a 24/7 neighborhood. And as architect, we agree. So one of the things that we kind of wanting to touch on is like, if you go from a horizontal neighborhood with all the amenities it has, how do you translate that and make sure that you have to capture some of that and bring it into a vertical environment, and adding to the city of the site and also the context and what are the influences form part of what we think is necessary to think about in terms of the design of this tower. But on the more scientific side of things, we started out by understanding where the tower should go. The curve face in the first image there is actually of the Columbia Center, which is the black tall building, is the tallest building we have right now in Seattle. Whether we like it or not, it is very iconic. It is part of the city. So we want to make sure that we respect that. And also, if you don't block their view, then chances are they don't block your views either. And so as we show here, the second image there with an X on it is where we place the residential tower on the north side of the site. And you will see the percentage or the number drop down on the Columbia Center. This is just trying to gauge how much view blockage it would do. As we move to the center of the site, the number improved. And on the south side of the site, the number is better. And then when we rotated our tower, it's improved even more. So that's how we determine where to put the tower and then how much rotation we can afford to do. So that's form the basis of where the tower go and the rotation of the tower. And then more locally, we would shape it more based on the local condition of various other buildings' height and such. At the same time, we could able to generate spreadsheet from it, and obviously if you assign view score to it, and the developer could use it to how to place value on those things, and this could happen very quickly if we make a change in the unit layout and where the stacking will go, then we can put out a spreadsheet that would show all of that. Of course, the fun part of it is also just form making. And we just generate a lot of them. So this is about, I can't recall how many months ago this was, but this was also generated as part of the city design review process that we have to go through. Here's a good section that shows all the yellow are residents up high, and then the blue spaces are the amenity spaces for the different group of neighborhood, and they also so happen to tie into the structural requirement of outriggers and other things that we need to deal with. And closer to the ground there is variation of retail lobby and office, the white below grade parking and some above grade parking that I'll talk to in a little bit. So again, as I mentioned, dialing that in with the structural requirement is always fun to do. Just at the podium, again, it's like, again, locally speaking, trying to create two-story volume and in-between spaces where we can to improve those connectivity. So this is a view that on Columbia Street, if you know Seattle, it's quite hilly. The avenue are the one that run parallel to the water, so they tend to be flat. The streets are the one that run perpendicular to the water, and they tend to be quite slopey. And Columbia Street is certainly one of them, and this is one that trying to attempt to like drop the plates of the retail spaces to connect more than just at the corner. And by the time you get down there, it's the garage entrance. I mentioned earlier there was a lot of 8-story parking below grade. Currently above the 2-story retail there is 4-story of above grade parking. Instead of looking at it, normal REM system, it would eat up a lot of spaces. And at the same time, if the belief is we're doing a lot of car sharing right now, and especially in big city, and the thought of like the whole thinking about automated non-driver cars, and also we do believe that in the future, maybe we don't need as many parking stalls. And so this one is a test, but the client really want to do it. Instead of doing REM parking, we put flat plate up on the above grade parking. We're going to install 2-car elevator, and so it'll be valet. But the idea there is over time, just trying to future-proof it. If there's not as much need for parking up there, we could convert those floors into more residence units. This is a bit subtle, but the corner of the tower come down because of the tip, the rotation that we created it. What I enjoy most is on the image on your left-hand side there, that's the corner of the Arctic Hotel, which is a really old, great terracotta building, and it have one bay of terracotta that turn the corner. And so we would say shift our building in at that point so that expose that face as part of the experience. And again, this is the retail space along 4th Avenue. And the intention here, the retail and the lobby is actually very blurry. There's no demising wall or anything. So it's more extending the space of the lobby and vice versa. Just various view from the city. This is from Safeco Field. So bring you back to the culture of the office. This is a weekly schedule, and sometimes it changes a lot, but in addition to project work, we do have a lot of functions that people go to and learn from. And of course, we have B-Share on Thursday is always a big thing for everybody. In addition to that, there's a lot of grassroots outing on the weekends and evenings. And we very much connected to our community with United Way that we part of, that we're trying to donate to every year, and also the design festival that happen every September. And this is some of the pieces that the students have built, I mean not student now, sorry. The staff have built over time as part of the festivals that go on every year. So with that, I just want to say, you know, it's been very fortunate of me to be able to do all of this and be part of this, but this is where it's all started. This is done by non-computer. This is my 5th year project, one of them. And yes, I did go to Europe like most of you did or will in 3rd year. And of course, this is, I always love this. I actually found them the other night. So this is some of my 1st year projects. And I don't know if you get to do your 9 square project anymore, but that's always been my favorite. So with that, thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much, John. And
I'll take questions if you have questions, only softball questions.
I'll start off.
Sure.
One
Randy?
of the students wants to come work for LMN and they come out for an interview. What do you look for when you hire a young graduate from college? What kind of qualities do you want them to have?
I think first things first is like you have to be like, you know, that you work well with people. I think the myth of somebody have done a master sketch and here it is doesn't exist. It needs to be truly collaborative. And so working well with people is always great. I mean, the reason I put up and we talk a lot about physical model building is because I know a lot of you guys like so much better than I am with softwares and things. But to me, they just different tools. And to know how to use your tools is important. So I would say that if anyone that, it's more about how you think, I would say, because I think with Revit or Rhino, we can constantly just keep making things, but do we know what we're making? So I think show a level of how you think. And if you're going to show me your portfolio, it's more important to show the process, the thought process behind it than just the final product. And yes, if anyone can build physical model without a laser cutter, we have laser cutters. But if you could do it by hand as a study tool, more than, because I think the notion of building model, which I agree is necessary to create your laser cutting file and then cut it and build it. But it's almost like, but in that process, it's not about intuitively figuring things out. It's about like, I know what I'm doing, which might eliminate some of the things that if you just like cutting up papers and glue it together, that's all. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Your video talked about putting together teams for projects being a design project in itself.
Yes.
Can you talk about how that happens?
So we have 160 people. We on 2.5 floors, and people move around a lot. Meaning, so you know, we have bench sitting and model building spaces, but what each individual actually own is a side desk that have casters on it, and then also your computer is on there. And so team are formed based on the need of the projects. So if you finish a project, and if you're on another team that it could be totally different size or type, then you just take your computer and you just go to where the new team is. So in some way, because we're on 2.5 floor, but it's almost like we can say it 9 quadrants because it's a siloed building. So trying to put teams where it fit and makes sense, and also what we didn't want to do is like the sound transit team. We don't want them to be the only group that in that one quarter. So we mix them up with another team there so that it more cross-pollination, if I may say that. And so that's what it means. So in some way, staffing is not so much of the personality of going on each team, but the physical constraints of our spaces become like actually a design issue, problem itself that needs to be solved all the time, yeah. Yeah.
How did that get like started a little bit? Like you having like a marine biologist and stuff like that, and how has it kind of like enriched your work to have like?
I think it's like the very least is you learn a lot that, you know, it's like building nowadays, like I said earlier, and some of the folks upstairs, it's like we no longer just doing buildings, right? It's like anything we do affect the environment, affect the bigger extent of the city or wherever it is. So in the case of marine biologists, simply because the site condition of Vancouver, and also seeing the potential of how to restore that marine habitat require us to learn that. And the living roof actually is quite interesting. That was like back in 2005 or 6 when we started it. Rainy Creek is the group that came out from California. And Paul Kephart, he's the guy that actually know about plant types. And again, he know plant types of California. He didn't know much about the Vancouver and also the local condition and the extreme, like, you know, local climate there. And so actually what we did was, given the size of the project and the importances of it, we actually built a bunch of test plot next to the site and tilt them at different angle and plant them with different type of plants to let it grow over like a one season cycle to understand how it works. And so by the tipping of it, the reason the roof tip is not only just for the function below, but if you look closely on the roof of it, it's not only just tipping, but it also triangulated. And it wasn't about pattern making, it's about slowing the water. That's what happens. So by doing so, within that, as the runoff come down like this, you would create peak and valley of that condition, and plant type at peak and valley grow very differently. And so that's how we kind of learn. And we're just a bunch of geeks. We just love to learn new things. So, yeah.
Just find geeks that have other geeks.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, within our tech studio, there are a few folks that would train as architects and also would train as computer scientists, and that's what they like, and you know, and it's been great to have them around. It makes us feel, well, we learn a lot from them too. So, yes.
Thank you for today. I know it was a long day for you. The way I see things these days, we feel very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
What way do things, what used to do it, or maybe we pretend, you know, we're hiding behind the tradition. And how could you explain or suggest to a student that, you know, instead of going inward thinking, you know, how could you, you know, go outward thinking or outside thinking? I mean, politically right now, the country going inward, and as an architect, you know, we talked about the buildings and cities and all of these, but you know, I cannot, you know, stop thinking, you know, that we need to look elsewhere. We need to look further, and you really need to be flexible in a way that, you know, the way we do things are not necessarily right way anymore, and
Well, I don't know if I have any, I don't know if I have any magic bullet there, but I do believe, first of all, I don't believe in what's right and what's wrong. I certainly don't believe in right solution or wrong solution. I believe in what is the most appropriate solution for any particular area. Because I think, and there's no stupid ideas versus best ideas, because I think the more you explore, chances are, but understanding what you're trying to achieve, I think is important. And I also like to believe that understanding that as much as you're trying to eliminate what is preferences, if one can use that term, but at the end of the day, we are who we are. And so there's certain sensibility that, sometimes you just have to accept. Regarding the political climate, however you want to put it, in our mind, there are facts, right? Facts are we need to conserve land, we need to conserve energy, we need to conserve the resources that we have, regardless of how fast that pace will move or how slow, that's a given. We understand that in the current climate, at least, it's like there are more and more people moving back into the city. And so to me, those are very specific things that one can graft onto and deal with. We know that, and if I'm going to expand on that a little bit more, it's like we know that universities, higher education has always been important and it's been growing, it's still growing, and so there's a lot of things happening there. We also know that the population getting older, so anything relating to healthcare, senior housing and things, to me is like senior housing is an interesting thing in my mind. It's like it's always been overlooked and it's always been something that's like, you know what, it's just like no one wants to work on them because it's just so hard to do them within the margin. But I believe those things evolve. So if you ask me about looking forward, what do I see? I see opportunities that, you know what, it will mature to the point that it will allow you, and whether you want to wait or you push that envelope and see what happens. And we choose to push it a little bit from time to time just to see where we can go. And some of the example I show you is like that I also think is fascinating. It's like, it's no longer, we're trying to blur the line between what architects do and contractor does, because nowadays, like there's many ways of delivering a project from your traditional one, which I don't even know. I don't think we have that many design bid build anymore, but GCCM or design build, or like at some point, actually there's a lot more design build now. And I think what we found is like if we learn more about how the contract side work, how people build things, and can we help them, because some of the example I showed there, we clearly eliminate shop drawings, but we didn't get much benefit from it, financial benefit, but we actually do believe it helped. And so that's what we do. And I think that sort of thing we certainly can influence regardless of how the country moves. So. Yes?
So you have lived in Seattle and New York, Hong Kong, different cities.
I live in Stillwater for 5 years.
So, what do you feel Seattle offers as a city that other cities don't offer? Or I guess what I'm trying to say is, how Seattle as a city inspire you and motivate you to do architecture?
Well, I've been there for a while now, and I mean, Seattle is a great place, right? Seattle is it's one of those unique places like Vancouver and other things where you have the density of a city, but again, it's really not that big. Quite honestly, it's like if you're talking about population, we're 700,000 people, Hong Kong is 11 million. So it's like when people talk about why can't I do transit and with housing and things, guys, we're not even 10%, all right? But there's enough density, and now it's getting bigger. But Seattle is great because you literally, you can see it, and you're minutes away from a natural environment that you have to be in awe with and you have to respect. And I think it put us so close to understanding and appreciating what we have, the resources and the nature beauty. And as part of what we do, we're trying to protect that and celebrate that. So. Yes, sir.
I was interested to see that you have 4 business school buildings that are either built or being built. And, I wonder, how did your firm get those 4 commissions? Was it word of mouth? Was it
Actually, it's like
between the faculty members?
yes, it's fascinating because when we did Paccar Hall at Foster School of Business at UW, throughout that process, and then as we were under construction, the dean left, and the dean actually went to another school, and then through word of mouth, it's like yes, it was. So I think treating people well is always a good thing to do. It's always is. I'm just saying.
Promoting transfers of faculty, that's another.
Yeah, well, I don't know about promoting, but that did happen in that case. But I also think what helped us was after we built the first one, through words of mouth, and when every school, obviously including this school, the business schools always seem to be expanding, and most of those folks, they care about the learning environment. So what they have done is they tour different new schools that open, and UW is one of them. And so that have been very helpful for us. I think when we got Michigan State last year, we thought we did pretty well when we come to the middle of the country. And okay, now I'm going to throw in a joke, okay? And so when we got Clemson, I thought, like, hey, we could win the South, so that's pretty cool.
Well, John, on behalf of the school, I want to thank you for
No,
coming
thank you.
and present to you a School of Architecture pin.
Oh, awesome.
Since you are a graduate.
Thank you.